The Dauntless. Corporal Lore, while I understand that your private affairs are indeed your private affairs, they cease to be as such when a rarer species of alien shows up on our doorstep and claims to be married to you. Admiral Cistern says evenly as he sees the Nerd Squad member fight to stop himself from shouting. The whole of the Nerd Squad are enthusiastic, but far from easily controlled. It's why they tended to be lower ranked than their skills would otherwise imply. Gerald Lore is an excellent field trooper with a tendency to upgrade his own and his squad mates' equipment, a skilled researcher, and can be easily trusted to keep a secret. However, he's also an impulsive piece of work that requires a lot of cleaning up after. Like right now. Sir, in all fairness, the social situation of the galaxy at large generally means that speaking nearby or not speaking to an alien at specific times could end up with you married to them by their standards. Can I please have more specifics? Corporal Lore asks. And Admiral Cistern can't help but chuckle at the rather on-the-nose observation. Fair enough. I'm referring to the Gravia woman identifying herself as Maiden Fair 6969, which is her actual legal name, I might add, that claims that on an online game you gambled for and won her eternal soul. He clarifies and has the great pleasure of seeing his soldier utterly flabbergasted and reduced to simply staring at him in disbelief. Lore attempts to speak, but no words come out. He attempts again to once more find himself utterly silent. Upon his third try, he manages to choke out a squeak of shock, quite elegantly stated. I was joking. I'm certain you were. However, Maiden Fair 6969 was not. She is currently in the process of lodging the paperwork for her marriage to you being approved by our own lawyers. Thankfully, the justification of a sense of humor is saving you on the Dauntless, but once you leave undaunted territory, then the forms she has already submitted and had approved by local law means that you are a married man. What? She recorded the interactions between you and her on the game, and it's being taken as a viable verbal contract. A request to forever have her close and beloved. Suffice to say, our legal teams congratulate you for somehow proposing to someone while teabagging their in-game avatar. What? Incidentally, she stated on record that she considers that a form of foreplay. It was just in-game trash talk, Gerald mutters in a dazed tone. I'm afraid that due to cultural differences, you've very much excited the young woman and she's all but planning what to name the children. I've never even seen her before, which is why you need to talk her down before she does something drastic, Admiral Cistern remarks. There has to be a way out of this. You could try acting like the adult you allegedly are and talk to the woman, explain things, and reason your way through your problems. This isn't a romantic comedy, young man. She has a functional brain and you do as well. Talk your way through things. Yes, sir, I'll get on it, Gerald says, and Admiral Cistern nods. Very well. Speak with O'Donnell. He knows where Miss 6969 is, he says, and Gerald nods. Dismissed. He receives a salute and the man marches smartly out of the room. As the door opens, Sir Philip walks in with a bit of a smile on his face, meaning that today's going to have some interesting things happening. He nearly greets the man, but a finger is raised and Admiral Cistern falls silent to allow the man to work. He casually walks around the room and pulls out several bugs to place them in a lead-lined container with enough little pockets for them all. The small container resembles a pitch-black medicine container, and once the final bug is snapped in, Sir Philip nods to him. Sensitive information, I assume? Somewhat. I've been poking about after making a new acquaintance and have found out one of the prime reasons why the rather large mess that is galactic politics hasn't collapsed under its own inadequacy. You have my attention, Sir Philip. Simply put, there are numerous, rather powerful stabilizing factors around several points of the galaxy. Quite a few, to be frank, and they range from criminal organizations to legitimate governments to private citizens. They tend to focus, as a whole, towards long-term profit and stability. This makes them rather vociferous opponents of the shorter-lived and shorter-sighted organizations such as the Dark Cabal and Umbral organization, or at least short-lived by galactic standards. Many of those organizations are centuries of age, which really emphasizes the need for the undaunted to put down roots of our own. And that, sir, is why I think these individuals will be in some way an asset. You are the first head of the undaunted, the one to set the trends for all those who come after. You are in effect setting the mood for this organization, and it's already proving to be of a like mind to these forces. By working to alter laws ever so slightly, using advantageous positions and taking advantage of the laws to deal with forces of chaos with a soft hand, you're in effect emulating many of these women. Am I? We have identified two such forces, one in charge of a larger organization, the other a private citizen. We already have connections to them on a personal level through the marriages of the soldiers. No name's Philip. I trust you to run these affairs as the superior intelligence officer. Not to mention my own office is endlessly bugged, and as good as you are, there must always be the assumption that a few have been missed. Very good, sir. Suffice to say, we've left a wonderful first impression on this organization with our clear goal of long-term enrichment and stability. If this pattern continues, you may even be more formally introduced to this organization in general as the Undaunted becomes an increasingly well-known organization throughout the galaxy, especially with our teams of bounty hunters and the EFL offering stability in their own rights. Yes, speaking of which, I was hoping for your opinion on something. By all means, sir. Simply put, there are not enough humans to keep pace with how much the Undaunted is already growing. Every day, more and more people sign up, and I was wondering how concentrated we should keep our human troops. While we are indeed a single part of a larger galaxy, we have our own needs and dogmas that will cause conflict with others. Corporal Lore and his playful banter in an online game has caused enough of a misunderstanding that he has a being that is effectively an elemental force attempting to mate with him. Unfortunately, sir, this is not a problem that will simply vanish. We're the new flavor of the month, and until something new comes along, we will be drowning under all the volunteers. It's best to simply roll with it, sir. This organization will simply not be able to be human-centric, and so it must stand on ideological legs, Sir Philip explains, and Admiral Cistern nods as this confirms his own thoughts. However, with many organizations in the galaxy, there is a generational push. Entire family lines will sign up and define themselves by being a part of the Undaunted. Much like how many women define themselves by being criminals, even if they never participate in criminal activity, many will also define themselves by being undaunted. Now Admiral Cistern's thoughts turn to the EFL and the reports of several people, particularly Daniel Hoagie Eastman, whose wives' criminal gang, the Berserkers, seem to be nothing beyond a style of dress and the skill to fight back against those who would lean on them. Beyond that, they sell food and candy, legally. I advise you to take advantage of this and an easy in, if you will. By pushing towards men and males, something that we're effectively already doing, we will be able to have the beating hearts of families and family lines consider themselves part of the Undaunted, a culture based around being part of us. I've already given the order to implement such measures in the advertising campaigns. I'm glad that you agree. Hopefully we can avoid being seen as nothing more than a boys' club, but I doubt we will be able to avoid such a thing in full. I see. I will have to tool my training methods and notes to accommodate alien mindsets and physiologies. I assumed you had already done so, Admiral Cistern remarks in a mildly mocking tone. Well, yes, but now I will continue to do so openly. is the answer he receives alongside a smile. Tell me that you will not have the cloak sent to my department exclusively. Actually, I was thinking more gobe, kobe, slobe, and metak. Perhaps vulba and charbis. Their smaller sizes cause people to underestimate them. I dare say you could have a great deal of fun with that. Oh my, yes. No one thinks twice about the gobe mechanic or kobe nurse. Keeping a slobe out of a location is difficult in the extreme without them being trained, and the metak are quite fierce when pressed. There's a slight presence of relief about Sir Philip at the idea, to say nothing about the fact that people welcome the coming of both vulba and charbis without exception. Having a reputation as famine breakers tends to make someone rather welcome. Regardless of species, a full stomach is always welcome. Incidentally, do you believe that our stabilizing friends will have any issue with a male-focused push? Unlikely. The powerful people of the galaxy are understandably almost entirely women, and with the advanced technology to keep them alive as long as possible, they have extensive family lines. They no doubt have many sons of their own, and simply put, there is not much to do for men in the galaxy. This has led many of them to some form of depression, listlessness, or even turning to criminal ends. The sorcerer phenomenon has proven to be a potent outlet among the Apuk, but it's so far only manifested upon a singular planet and for a singular species. Until now, Admiral Cistern muses. We're very much a game changer, sir. Before us, the idea of armies of men were the result of some fantastical story or the realm of a video game. As a species, we are as much a perverted young woman's fantasy come to life as the galaxy is a perverted young man's fantasy come to life. So long as we're mutually perverted, fantasies come to life, I suppose it evens out. Admiral Cistern notes before standing up to look over the bridge to see the more casual day-to-day affairs happening below. A small coffee run is in progress to keep everyone well and truly energized. Sir, we must prepare Philip. We've reached the time frame for the earliest period in which our contact to Earth can be reestablished. For all we know, we've been declared criminals and thieves to be murdered for our act of theft. That is indeed a concern, sir. One that you haven't been alone in having. The men keep it to themselves, but there are very, very few fools among our soldiers and staff. Do you have a plan? The Undaunted is my primary plan, Philip. The EFL is one of my backups, and the stocks I've been gaining control of in more and more companies has been yet another. The village upon Serbo, the men marrying themselves to aliens, our men on the Chainbreaker, the offices on Zalwar. I've encouraged all of it in order to ensure that if things go wrong in the worst way possible, then the men will still survive, that we have backups and plans. I do hope you have a few of your own. In the worst-case scenario, sir, I will be returning to Earth for a reckoning, in my mission best no less. Sir Philip says, and Admiral Cistern nods. Little else needs to be said. Of course, such is only a worst-case scenario. Hopefully, much like I advise Corporal Lore to do, discussion and reason will win the day, and whatever difficulties there are will be resolved amicably. But it's good to be prepared just in case, Sir Philip comments. Indeed. Admiral Cistern notes as he looks down and considers a bit more. Has the interrogation of Vercross turned up anything interesting? Several things. Most concerning is the fact that one of the stolen mental imprints of our soldiers has been stolen by a third party, Sergeant Horace Blue to be exact, Sir Philip says, and Admiral Cistern huffs somewhat, meaning we need to be ready in case another Sergeant Blue shows up, possibly in an alien body. Admiral Cistern notes grimly, yes, I've already alerted our psychological staff of the unique challenge that is potentially brewing. I believe the term dysphoric would be insufficient. Oh my yes, there isn't a single scientist that isn't penning entire novels worth of fascinating details from all the things we've learned. The psychologists are not exceptions.